Okay, hopefully, this is actually recording. I just went through and recorded this whole thing and did not have the mic on. Rookie mistake. So, I'm having to re-record this, obviously. It has been requested that specific edits be made to the live stream covering this presentation, but due to my lack of editing skills, I was unable to make that happen. So for this reason, I have decided to unlist the live presentation video and re-record it. And this will be a non-live presentation, but I'm of course unable to replicate that live stream. So I am willing to send it though to anyone requesting it. If you reach out to enlightenthedark@gmail.com, I will be happy to send it to you, and I appreciate everyone's patience on this. So, this was originally recorded on March 16th, 2025. Today is Friday, the 21st of March, 2025. All the receipts and screenshots are from the Delphi Crime Archive collected by Alex Voorhees, and I did the presentation. So, didn't really know what to name it, so I just named it Gatekeepers of Deception: How Bad Actors Infiltrated the Delphi Investigation. So, a quick disclaimer: the information presented here is based on publicly available records, independent research, and evidence gathered by Alex Voorhees. While we believe this information is relevant to understanding the infiltration of the Delphi Murders investigation, we are not law enforcement, and we cannot confirm what actions, if any, have been taken by authorities regarding the tips submitted about this individual. For ethical and legal reasons, we have redacted personal identifiers and reduced the individual names to their initials. This presentation is meant to inform, not to incite harassment, threats, or vigilantism of any kind. We strongly discourage any audience member from attempting to contact or confront this person independently, as doing so could pose legal and personal risks. Our goal is to shed light on patterns of interference and manipulation in true crime investigations, not to create further harm. We believe in responsible discussion of these issues and do not condone harassment or any unlawful actions related to the material presented. And we encourage viewers to engage critically, ask questions, and focus on the larger systemic issues at play rather than individual retaliation. So, the summary of this presentation: the following is an itemized chronological collection of receipts showing DT knew who Richard Allen was years before his arrest. DT admitted in fall 2022 to knowing about Richard Allen in 2020. Online posts in early 2020, both on 4chan and Wikipedia, demonstrate this fact. An orchestrated effort was made to push Richard Allen's name out into public spaces. This presentation also shows other content creators and frequent live stream participants running cover for DT. So, a collection of incriminating evidence linking DT to organized crime, particularly her wavering knowledge of the murderer or murderers of Abby Williams and Libby German, as well as her shared Instagram account with her underage daughter, featuring suggestive photos of said daughter, which we will not be showing. This is eerily reminiscent to catfishing behavior or the creation of a fake identity with the intent of deception. For this reason, DT's Instagram account has been tipped into local law enforcement. Ooh, dear. Sorry, guys. So DT has pivoted multiple times between knowing Richard Allen's initials and full name to then denying she ever knew him, and or it was a lucky yes, to then openly admitting to have discovered Allen before ISP in a January 13th, 2024 YouTube video. So, on the far left here, this is a DT Facebook comment from January 2020, and she's basically the administrator of the Delphi Dilemma, a Facebook group. And she posted, "It's been a minute since we asked for initials of your POI. Has anyone's changed?" She adds herself, the initials RA, and then somebody in the group comments back to her under her comment, "Richard Allen," like questioning if it's Richard Allen. So this is January 2020. Now, she does address this post from 2020 in a fall 2022 post. And she says, "Coming in finally, had some very important work that needed to be completed tonight. First, I'm kind of sad so many people took this info from this group and spread it everywhere. I understand the need for information and the need to understand it. I get it. I just wish you guys would have at least asked. Let AH work this, as she will update, as she always does. Okay, second issue. Yes, I did put initials RA in a group 2 years ago, in 2020, when we were calling out POI's initials. Big deal. Richard Allen looks like the bridge guy, and Jordan allowed me to say that yes, we worked him. And I'm sure we were not the only ones doing so. I will provide the screenshot, and dear God, I got so many spam messages, I had to turn off my computer. I appreciate you all, lots of good work in the group, and believe me, all a team effort." So I just want to really clearly show that when she put RA's initials into her Facebook group post, the RA, and then somebody's asking if it's Richard Allen, she was attributing the initials RA to Richard Allen. Alright? So Dawn was saying that he was her POI in January 2020. Just so that's very clear. Okay? And then she is admitting that she did do that in fall of 2022. So, a month later, in February 2020, there's some 4chan posts that show up by an anonymous poster, but it says Sunday, 23rd of February 2020 at 8:58. And this is very cryptic. This is what Alex likes to call foster babble, in which it's kind of like an encoded or cryptic message for like-minded individuals to understand, but for the rest of us to be kind of like, wow, that's really creepy and weird. So it reads, "What you all fail to interpret about small town civics is the manner in which fall into each other in a public square. One cannot find happiness or fortitude with a simple game and keep their daughters safe from such predators. This man will get away with everything. I didn't want to come out and say it, but I lived in Delphi for years, and without a doubt, Richard is not well known in the town. I have been monitoring the thread." So, there is speculation that the civics is meant to refer to CVS, okay? Kind of call that out and connect him to that Richard. And then shortly after this post at 8:58, there's another post, same day, 9:26, about a half hour later. And it would be interesting to know like how frequently this thread is posted in on 4chan, because it could be that these are, two people that are meant to be there, that have, orchestrated this. It could be the same person, just changing their syntax. But this other post reads, "Just because there was a video of Richard on the train tracks doesn't mean he did it. The cops are smart enough to know this and have probably interrogated him already. It was a dead end. Either that or he has connections. It was probably someone from out of town. Who knows, though?" So, basically, this person is, attributing it to a Richard. And this person, while it looks like they're defending Richard, is coming out and saying there was a video of Richard on the train tracks. So that's almost like, is that meant to be seen by a Richard and scare him? Is it, kind of, I don't know, not implying something, because so it says either that or he has connections. It was probably someone from out of town. Who knows that? So they're very like specific on certain things. There was a video. Not only was there a video, possibly the BG video, of a Richard on the train tracks, so putting him on that bridge doesn't mean he did it. So that's the speculation. Of course, we know, more than likely the person in the BG video behind Abby is probably much taller than Richard Allen, who is anywhere from 5'4" to 5'6". And then saying either that or he has connections is, implying that maybe there's more than one person involved, and or that he is connected in with cops, So they are trying to make it look like, oh, it was probably someone from out of town. Who knows, though? So they're just, they're trying to make it look like they're defending Richard, but then they're also casting very heavy doubt, too, by specifically saying there was a video of Richard on the train tracks and that he has connections, kind of thing. Okay? So I wanted to point that out. I did want to point out that the syntax in this does use a lot of symbols. Civics is kind of a weird way of saying, it's just more antiquated. Like, most people don't use that in everyday language, but civics, and that a manner in which they or it or whatever, they're missing something here, fall into each other in a public square. Square, fortitude, simple game, daughters. To me, a lot of this reads as kind of like initiatory language, something you might see in the Masonic stuff that's mimicking Masonic stuff, all the ceremonial, magical kind of temples and orders and all of that stuff. So it's just interesting. It would be fun to do a deep dive on it. But real quickly, I did want to look up small town civics and kind of give a feel for what is being talked about and then the implications of it. But small town civics, referring to the structure, processes, and interactions that shape governance and community involvement in a small town. It can include things like local government, mayors, councils, boards, public services, schools, utilities, law enforcement, and the way residents engage in civic life, voting, town meetings, volunteering. So, some implications of small town civics would be that they are tight-knit communities, and there's strong social connections. Local decisions are shaped by personal relationships rather than bureaucratic systems. That there are limited resources but high influence, so a few individuals, like the politicians, business owners, law enforcement, etc., they tend to dominate over policies and public perception. It's also, it could be implied that there would be a resistance to change. So there would be a preference to uphold traditions and long-standing power structures, making reform or innovation difficult. And that accountability versus corruption, theoretically, transparency can be higher due to closer oversight, but it could also be more prone to nepotism and favoritism. So, following the 4chan February 2020 posts, there are these Wikipedia edits that show up in March 2020 in which a suspect, Richard, suspect, Richard, are all edited into the Murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German Wikipedia page. Okay? So that is concerning. So those are some examples of people having a Richard name, and Dawn very specifically having a Richard Allen name, that they are indeed talking about in 2020 before arrest. Further, we have some weird stuff that goes down on the 19th of December 2021. So everybody knows that The Shack, which was basically a book first, but it became a film, is talked about and used, especially by Kelsey German and Doug Carter, the superintendent, head of Indiana State Police. They have conversations about it and like coming to terms with God and God's plan and stuff like that. So this film was released on the 3rd of March 2017, so not even a month after the girls were killed. And then it was available for streaming on the 16th of May 2017. But this concerns a conversation that Alex has in blue with an LC in the gray here. And this happened on June 30th, 2024. And LC says to Alex, "Look at that IMDb crap." And Alex replies, "That's basically the same theory we've had for a while, that Alan was threatened before arrest, implies bigger fish, scarier person, scarier group." So it is very interesting that somebody knows specifically out of 487 reviews of The Shack, which is just, has become associated with Delphi, is posted on the 19th of December, 2021. 19 of December, December is the 12th month. 19 and 12 is 31, which is 13 inverted. So there are these back-to-back posts of someone named Richard B. Atten and then an Allen 4. Richard Allen, of course, misspelling Allen, Atten looking like Allen, but with an I-N, but it's a T-T-I-N. So, all of this plausible deniability, right? That could have just been a coincidence kind of thing. All right, fine. How did this person know to go look at that IMDb crap out of 487 reviews? I mean, either they have some sort of knowledge of, things that they shouldn't, or somebody else turned them on to go look at that stuff that they shouldn't have knowledge of. Because technically, if Richard Allen is the guy, which I don't believe he is, but if he is the guy, they are having guilt knowledge before his arrest of him. Because this is December 2021. Allen's not arrested till late October 2022. So, some examples that Richard Allen's name had been known and disseminated. Cryptex uploaded this short video talking about Richard was named in a Wikipedia edition of March 2020. His link is here too if you want to go check it out. It should be clickable in the PDF format. But so he uploaded this a couple days after Allen's arrest. And it just goes over that Richard was mentioned being a suspect in the Wikipedia page for the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. So then in March, early March 5th, 2023, Alex goes on Rick Snay's Delphi After Dark YouTube channel to talk about, I believe they were talking about like the Odinist connection there, but it's a live, so Wife Lilith comes in and comments in the live chat, "I told you people knew Rick was there," probably meaning like the Mona and High Bridge and the trails. So I told you people knew Rick was there. Word was all over town, but people are scared to talk. We knew he was there. He told people himself at JC. And JC is kind of like the popular bar in Delphi, I guess. It might be closed now, but also this link should be clickable too to go check out that video with Delphi After Dark. So, the video, Delphi After Dark video was March 5th, 2023. These conversations on Telegram between AV and DT happened between the 3rd and 4th of April 2023, so about a month later. And Alex basically is like, how did Alan come up on your radar way back when? Was it a local that heard he was on the bridge, or some JC's murmurs got out? Basically, like, was it through the bar? Like, what's up? Why, like, hone in on Alan? And DT says, and this is very weird, but is very evasive, but they say, there was some petty crimes in the area, that's all. He looked like BG. So, now, if anyone has any information concerning a sleuth or group of sleuths using one or both of the BG sketches to compare to males living in the vicinity of Delphi, Indiana, please reach out to enlightenthedark@gmail.com or alexandervoorhees@proton.me. There were rumors, and Simon of West Yorkshire even brought this up, that people had been looking at the males in Delphi and trying to compare them to BG, and they were getting tipped in all over the place. Well, except for Alan, but he did actually get potentially tipped in through Simon of West Yorkshire, because Simon was on Reddit, in a Delphi Reddit subreddit, and someone he believed to be a female Redditor was bringing up Richard Allen's name, and Simon said that he then tipped in that person bringing up Richard Allen's name on Reddit, because Simon was under the impression that this person was going to dox Richard Allen. And I think this is late December 2021 is what Simon says. And that was on CJ's channel, which of course is no longer available. So, it would probably be best to reach back out to Simon to get that story down better. But Simon of West Yorkshire. So, then as of January 21st, 2024, Dawn, or DT, okay, well, her first name is Dawn, DT reaches out to Frank, Dutch Frank, and says, Frank, remember when Tobe said there were small crimes and they ran an article in the comment? It was based on that. I'm talking guys were out there stealing the fences for money, but I'm almost positive there was a small crime reported across from Alan's home. It wasn't a big deal at the time, he just looked like BG, but we were sleuthing small petty crimes around the area and he popped up. Oh, and people at JC's. Okay, so she's basically saying the way that Alan got on her radar was that she was hearing these things about small crimes, but, Alan was never arrested for anything. So it is kind of weird, like, there was a small crime reported from across Alan's home. Okay. It does seem a little, that's, I don't know if I would look into somebody that was across the way from another person that had a small crime committed, in around their home. But, so she's saying it wasn't a big deal at the time, so that does track, but he just looked like BG. But, BG was kind of hard to see what he looked like. Did Alan just basically wear jeans and a coat that resembled what BG was wearing? And she says, but we were sleuthing small petty crimes around the area and he popped up. And then saying, and a couple people at JC's were saying, that he had probably put himself out there. Because, he did go to Dan Doolin. And as far as we know, that is the only tip of anybody bringing Richard Allen up ever, and it was because Richard Allen went and talked to Dan Doolin of his own accord, unfortunately. So then, that very same day, Dutch Frank sends this screenshot to Alex, and Alex, sends in a bunch of receipts, a bunch of screenshots and stuff, sends it in to Detective Coy Cox of Boone County, Kentucky, also on the 1st of January, 2024. And Alex says, she just said this today. She's full of shit. Makes no sense. DT isn't even from Indiana. She is from Michigan. So how would she know what RA really looks like or anything? He wasn't big on social media. And by this time, we know that Alan most likely deleted, if he had Facebook, he most likely deleted it in 2020. But those are rumors that we can't confirm. So So 12 days later, after that tip is sent in to Coy Cox, the Captain Howdy goes ahead and makes a video running damage control for DT. And the name of that video, which is also linked here, is The Delphi Murders, Echo Chambers, and Missed Opportunities. So basically there is, in the comments section, there's somebody asking, are we not going to talk about what led DT to finger RA so long ago? And somebody comments underneath, yeah, Michigan being a human trafficking hub, just like the other big agitators from Michigan. So I'm not sure who they are talking about, other than maybe SW, but that is another presentation. So, and then below, a couple months later in June, so this is 13 January, of course another 13, but the 13th of January, in June of 2024, Michigan Vigilante, which is Alex, that's one of his Twitter accounts, he says, DT is a pedophile, not a sleuth, and so is her apprentice. What did Richard Allen do in 2020, where you were veiled threatening him on both Facebook and 4chan, and he had to delete his Facebook account that same year? Again, rumor, we can't find that evidence, but we think there's a pretty good chance that his Facebook was deleted in 2020, Richard Allen's. So, then, May 2024, so the last one was in June, but this is May, so it's a month earlier, but Michigan Vigilante is just pointing out that they tipped in on the 1st of January, all these tips on DT, okay? And then there's also a damage control video by the Captain Howdy, so there's kind of like, there are people that are willing to do damage control for DT, you know? And was that because they knew what DT was? Did they know who she was? And like, you know, her involvement? Or were they tricked by her or what? But, you know, is there a bigger community of people who are aware of DT and are friends with her? Yeah, probably. So these are the receipts, and they're just posting it on Twitter here from January, tipping in DT. But then we have a screenshot from Fig Solves where DT is explaining to him we all missed RA, and this is late June 29th, 2024. So it basically says, DT says to Fig's just stating facts here. The Ron Howard tip is not about RA, it was Duval. The Stevenson case is not connected to Delphi. The 4chan discussion was some other guy named Richard. Misinformation, all of it. We all missed RA, and some need to get a grip. So she's directly contradicting that she's saying in the damage control video by Captain Howdy that she did tip in Richard Allen, even though there is no receipt or like physical example showing that she had tipped him in. But she is saying it here in this video that she in fact was the one that tipped him in. So she's taking credit for it there. So, but now, a couple months later, in June, she's saying to Fig, everybody missed RA. We all missed RA. And, you know, there's absolutely no connection to Stevenson's or whatever. So just a lot of denial. But if we go to a flashback, we have her saying in fall of 2022 that when she put out RA's initials in January of 2020 in the Facebook group, the Delphi Dilemma, she was specifically talking about Richard Allen. And we can even see that her friend underneath, if we go back to the first receipt slide, her friend is asking Richard Allen, question mark, question mark, question mark. So Dawn is seeing that the initials that she put forward in 2020, RA, were meant to represent Richard Allen, not Rod Abrams, not the Atkinson or Atson or whatever guy. No, she was being specific and talking about Richard Allen. Just to clarify that, okay? So the last thing was from Fig. That was late June. This is middle August, the 13th again, 13th of August, 2024. This conversation took place between Alex and Ivy Rose in the live stream done by Fire and Ice. And the video linked here is called The Delphi Franks Denied, featuring Delphi Dummies, Fig Solves, and Alex Voorhees. And then the following conversation, Alex is in the blue, and Ivy is in red, the red lines. So Alex is saying, Ivy Rose, you and Cold Truth honestly shading for protecting DT, who did not in fact tip in Alan at all, and is acting like she's going to get the reward money. You one shady ass mofo, Ivy. Ivy looks like she's responding to somebody else. She says, yeah, that makes sense. But then she says, Alex, I'm not going to derail the chat with my opinion of you. Then Alex says, DT was bragging about being the only one to catch RA in Captain Howdy's video earlier this year. Then on her alt YouTube account is saying there's no evidence on RA. Which is very interesting because he says, so why brag about being the only sleuth to catch RA and then say he's innocent all in the same year, this year, 2024. You guys have a messaging issue over there. You should take care of before you come for me. So he's basically saying, why are these people, why is this alt account of DT pretending to be pro Richard Allen and that he's innocent while she's also taking credit for tipping him in? Which would imply that she possibly thinks he is guilty. So there's that contradiction there. And there is Alex was very much of the belief that the defense was heavily infiltrated by people like DT who are playing both sides. And that's part of the reason that, the defense message gets so muddled and so difficult, and there's too many ideas coming in all at once because it was a concerted effort to confuse the defense. So, why would there be alt accounts of the same person saying the exact opposite thing that they're claiming to say, in other places, basically? So as the conversation goes on, she's saying that Alex has paranoid delusions. Alex is just saying paranoid delusions, knowing the suspect early and concealing it for reasons. Like, why would somebody know who this suspect was that then police do arrest, but conceal it and not come forward with it? And he's like, DT never tipped Alan in. What's up with that? Why is that? If she didn't tip him in, why brag about it this year? Probably fear of what? So then Ivy Rose said, yeah, I've heard she did. I don't know her personally and don't have any reason to believe it's nefarious. And so then Alex says, she didn't. Prosecution would have said so. She even stated she didn't. Yeah, you sit and think about that, Ivy. So he's taunting Ivy, basically, but he's like, why was she bragging this year about tipping him in when she never tipped him in? Because the only tip that exists on Richard Allen is from Dan Doolin. Okay? That is the only tip that exists, and that tip was cleared. So for people to go back and re-dig it up is, it suggests a premeditated plan, in my opinion, allegedly. So, Ivy says, you're assuming the prosecution would say so, but that goes against what they've done since the beginning. Most men in Delphi were tipped in at some point. So, I think the prosecution would come out and say, if they had multiple tips of Richard Allen, if that tip existed, that DT said that she tipped in Richard Allen, if it existed, they would have used that for sure, because they needed every bit of anything to point at Richard Allen to make him look guilty. I mean, they had to, engage in some pretty shady tactics just to get that conviction. So Ivy is covering her butt here, saying, I want to clarify though, I've heard DT had RA's name as a potential POI years ago. I'm not sure if she actually tipped it in or not. And then Alex is reiterating again, she did not tip him in. So then Ivy says, one more thing, DT and I are only Facebook acquaintances, but I've never seen her talk about getting the reward. Even if she tipped him in, it didn't lead to his arrest. Most aren't worried about credit. So, couple things here. Ivy, even if she is not direct friends with DT, is direct friends with people who are friends, very close friends of DT. Everybody knows each other, okay? Everybody. So, but then she's trying to pivot and distract by using some sort of, moral high ground, but saying most aren't worried about credit. So it's just like, what angle are you coming at this at, Alex? Are you trying to be saying that you deserve the credit, not her? Because, most aren't worried about credit. So, and then this I accidentally included. I don't think it's pertaining to the conversation, but feel free to read it. But Alex is saying here, DT sure was concerned about credit when that Captain Howdy video was released earlier this year. And he says, wonder what's up with the timing on that release. I can name a few reasons. Well, it's 12 days after he tips in DT to Coy Cox with all the receipts. Okay, so that was August. So now we're in December 2024. This is a post from Prof's community page, and basically Alex is giving a rundown, like a brief timeline of when things are going down. So the DTRA post in January 2020 is showing that Dawn had Richard Allen's name, initials, right? But that we see that she does clarify she was talking about Richard Allen in 2020. So she's saying his initials, and somebody underneath is doing the Richard Allen, question mark, question mark, question mark. Right, a month later is the February 2020 4chan posts, two of them, back to back. And again, like, it would be interesting to know, like, how frequently are people posting on that 4chan thread. So if the back-to-back activity was, like, would that be suspicious or not? Same thing with the IMDb thing. Would the back-to-back activity be normal, considering that there's 487 reviews or whatever? And then after the February 4chan posts, there's the March Wikipedia posts of the suspect Richard. So basically it's this whole thing is starting to look like a campaign to get out a certain suspect. And that made me wonder, like, Keegan Klein is officially arrested in August 2020. So I'm wondering if there's a criminal group that is concerned that Kagan might be next being looked at, and they are trying to get out another person's name. So, there's this suspected intimidation and harassment campaign against Allen by the same people doing it last month around trial time. What a surprise. Yes, the same group of people who are close with DT were the same people that attacked us, me and Alex, both, around October 2024 trial time, just as trial was beginning, in fact, on the 13th. So, again, another surprise, October 13th. But even a month previously, there was their big falling out in the community, well, at least the little community that I ran in. That took place on Friday, September the 13th. And it was a setup in a Discord to get basically embarrassed and, hurt, big time. So anyway, all of that happens. And you can go back and see lives that I did around that time from September 13th to get a better picture of what was going on. But basically, let's see. So somebody's asking Alex, so who is this DT person? And Alex says, the P. Diddy Epstein of the Delphi case. And somebody asks, like procurer of children or recorder of misdeeds or both? Alex says both. And then Nobody Nothing says, the good old boys, nepotism networks, and injustice oracles love their chomos, dark secrets, and lies in and around pedophilia in Indiana. And basically the correlation here is that, there's a criminal element, right, that's going on, and they are involved. The same people harassing Richard Allen years ago are also harassing sleuths and investigating and following the case. So, now there's this Christmas Day conversation with Delphi PD. So, using the account of a deceased Missouri man, Timmy Dees, Alex monitored DT's Facebook profile, drawing the attention of the Delphi Police Department, likely at the request of DT. Using Mr. D's account, evidence of online grooming allegations made against DT were provided to Delphi PD. And these concerns were dismissed, and the veracity of DT's existence was made by the police, who more than likely investigated Mr. D's on behalf of DT herself. Excuse me. As DT had not yet faced any consequences for her alleged harassment, sextortion, obstruction, etc., it was now more understandable as to why. So we won't make the connection that the Delphi PD were potentially working on behalf of DT, which is just mind-blowing. But anyway, so despite Delphi PD's insinuation that DT did not exist, Alex as Mr. D's clearly demonstrated that she in fact existed, providing her white page info as well as screenshots taken by DT sent to Alex. So very quickly, part of the reason that I am making this non-live video was to take out the picture of Timothy Dees as was requested by his mother. I am very sorry for any duress or distress that we caused, but rest in peace, Timothy Dees. He was born April 10th, 1996. His remains were recovered on the 21st of July, 2022. And if you guys want information on the case, please consider subscribing to Timothy's Legacy. I'll have the link in the description. And right now, as of March 2025, there is a community post up on Timmy D's case. So there's a good article and an excellent podcast that you guys can access to learn more about his information, and to please consider signing the petition, the change.org petition to reopen his case, because the police have not done a good enough job investigating his case. So continuing with the conversation, Alex, using Timmy D's Facebook account, begins covertly monitoring DT. He's just, monitoring her. So Facebook has tools for individuals to monitor, and I think most platforms do, where you have tools to monitor if you're being monitored, like being searched. So, and it probably, it's probably a good thing for stalking purposes, but DT likely used these tools and saw that the profile of Timmy D's was searching for her, or, searching her name, even though Alex was searching on behalf of somebody else, the DT profile. But anyway, so DT sees that this Timmy Dees is searching her, and DT reaches out to Delphi PD in Indiana. And keep in mind, DT is from Michigan. So she reaches out to Delphi, Indiana PD to investigate Timmy Dees' profile. Timmy Dees is from Missouri. He's a Missouri man, too. So, okay. So anyway, to the right here is going to be the screenshot of Delphi PD first reaching out to Timmy. So Alex as Timmy will then send them screenshots of an Instagram account accusing DT of predatory behavior. And basically, so Delphi PD reaches out, says, "Hi Timmy, please let us know how we can help you." And Alex as Timmy immediately sends them these screenshots. And the way that he got these screenshots was that DT sent them to Alex saying, "Oh my gosh, there's this Instagram profile, this Gabby. She's been harassing me, and look at all the horrible things that she says." Well, keep in mind, DT is using her own daughter's Instagram account, like, quote unquote, sharing it with her daughter, also using her daughter's pictures to represent that account. And then there are suggestive photos of her daughter, which of course we were not going to put in here, but that she's taking of her underage daughter. Okay? So it is pretty disturbing. So this Gabby reaches out and says, "Can you do everyone a favor and stop talking to kids inappropriately, because I've heard that you're a pedo. The stuff you said is absolutely disgusting, and the fact that the fact that you apparently are into little kids is also gross, considering you're clearly over 20. LMAO, bro, you're so petty and gross. How could you go around and talk to children like that?" So, take it for what it is. DT says that she's being harassed. This account is calling her out. She is using her own underage daughter's Instagram account with the pictures of her daughter. So, basically, Alex does this to let Delphi PD know that he knows that they are reaching out to him on behalf of DT, if that makes sense. So he's letting them know, "Hey, I know the only reason that you reached out to me was because DT told you to. So I'm sending you these nasty, incriminating accusations on Instagram of DT." And Delphi PD tries to play it cool, but they don't quite get away with it. So Delphi PD is going to be in the gray with this darker purple indigo lines and stuff, and then Alex is going to be in mostly the blue, but then the bright blue line. So Delphi PD, talking about Delphi, say, Delphi PD didn't investigate the case, right? And then Alex says, "Well, who did then? Whoever investigated it, they're compromised by this shit, and DT is a protected child molester. I saw DT threatening FBI and me personally. I think FBI may be more compromised than any local PD in the country. But with time, God has a way of making things right, especially if people can move on and let go for the right reasons." But Delphi PD comes back and says, "Delphi PD has never been the investigating agency in all 8 years, and DT is a fake profile." And Alex is a little incredulous at this point, saying, "You're saying DT is another person? Do you know who it is?" Like, they're claiming that DT isn't who she is. But then Delphi PD, backtrack and say, "Have you found any records supporting that DT exists in real life?" So then Alex knows that they're not being genuine. He says, "Yeah, well, who do you think it is? You obviously knew about her before I told you. Well, how can I help you as far as DT or RA? Drop the noise, find out who DT is." find out how compromised FBI is and why. And I think he's saying this stuff about the FBI to kind of take pressure off of Delphi PD because they're looking very suspicious at this point. So he's trying to be like, oh, see, I don't suspect you, I suspect the FBI, but that's conjecture. I would have to ask Alex, but, and then basically he says at the end, Stevenson's is connected, isn't it? And then they just don't really reply because Alex, and this has been fuzzed out for any revealing details or information, but, so Alex provides this white page info, and he asks, is that white page info forged? And then he's like, the only wish I have, no one has to be named or shamed or credited, just say Stevenson's is connected, and tone down harassment like has been done, so good job on that. And that's pretty much it. Good job otherwise, Merry Christmas. So, yeah, very, very disturbing. The police lied about knowing DT, basically. And police from outside of her state, even. And the very specific Delphi, Indiana, of which, DT has a Facebook group, the Delphi Dilemma, covering specifically Delphi, yet she lives in Michigan. So it's just weird. The police then lied about knowing DT, trying to gaslight, like, oh no, does she even exist? Is it even really a real account? And it really looks like they reached out on her behalf to this profile that was just monitoring her covertly. So the optics are not good. It looks like the PD are colluding with people with dubious connections, right? Especially knowing that DT is saying RA's name way before arrest, not tipping him in, and then hemming and hawing, backing and forthing between, yes, I did say it was him, no, I didn't say it was him, and then having an Instagram account that she shares with her daughter and using her daughter's pictures. And some of them are suggestive, like, it's not great. And it's kind of like, well, what are we supposed to do with this? Because Alex has tipped this in many times already. He's tipped this into Coy Cox. He's tipped this into Delphi PD. He's tipped in DT to local Michigan PD, or law enforcement. And he's tipped this into the FBI. So, but we're still here and nothing's been done. So he put out his archive, he felt like it was doing well because it was in forums where a lot of like-minded individuals gathered, but, it really needed to be seen by the Delphi community too, and spark some outrage because, like, it feels like you're beating your head against the wall. And Alex has been at this much longer than I have, and I'm already sick of it. So, let's finish this up. So, in conclusion, the evidence presented here highlights a disturbing pattern. Individuals with questionable motives have actively manipulated the Delphi Murders investigation, misdirecting public discourse, and even influencing law enforcement actions. The connections between these bad actors, their online activities, and the harassment of independent researchers raise serious concerns about interference, corruption, and the broader implications of small-town civics. Our goal has never been to point fingers without cause, but to expose patterns that demand closer scrutiny. This case is a stark reminder that in true crime investigations, misinformation can be just as damaging as the crime itself. Deliberate misdirection not only harms the pursuit of justice, but also endangers innocent people. And we encourage you to remain critical thinkers, ask questions, and seek truth responsibly. Stay informed, stay ethical, and never let deception go unchallenged. Thank you for your time and your dedication to uncovering the truth. And then The unredacted files will be in the description from the Delphi Crime Archive, and as well the presentation PDF. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to Weird Alex V and Enlighten the Dark. If you are not already, please do so. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Again, if you would like the live presentation of this, feel free to email me at enlightenthedark@gmail.com. And yeah, I hope everybody has a good day. So let's see. Need to stop recording.